The killer awoke before dawn. He put his boots on. He took a face from the ancient gallery, and he walked on down the hall.
The way you treated me too many times before. Don't you know you love them, baby, too? Oh, you know I want you there, wanna be right there with you. I know I gotta keep you by my side till the day I die. 'Cause baby, ecstasy is in my hand. Oh, when I'm holding yours in mine and walking in the sand. Oh, baby, you know it's fine. Oh, now you done and piss me off. You went and done something you shouldn't have done. Baby, I'm mad. I'm going on. Oh, I'm going on.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Lost Begotten channel. I think that's where isn't that? Yeah. Is that the channel? I think it's the channel. Oh wait, there's that guy. Yeah, this is definitely the Lost Begotten channel. Yeah. If you see the giant forehead, you know you're in the wrong place. Or I know I'm in the right place. But anyways. So, good morning, everyone. I just woke up. I of course did my usual morning routine, but I actually went back to sleep afterwards already. So I, for the first time in recent memory, have actually slept to the point where like I taste like I slept when I woke up. Like that taste that you get from sleeping. Like just like the kidney breath kind of taste or whatever it is. I haven't slept long enough to have that happen to me. And I don't even fucking know how long. But I just did that. I didn't even brush my teeth. I'm like enjoying the nasty taste in my mouth right now just because it's like, oh, I slept. But, I'm not enjoying it too much. I'm diluting it with coffee as, God intended. So, good morning, Pedro and Maximo. ¿Cómo estás? Oh. Like, seriously, I woke up and just barely had enough time. I probably woke up at like 11:40. And I just had enough time to, like, figure out which episode of Bleach I went to sleep to. The Kenpachi Ichigo fight, the first one. Yeah. Can't miss that, So you got to back it up if you miss some of that fight. Every single time. I've now seen this Bleach series in its entirety, probably 10 plus times through, at least. At least. It's become sort of my default thing that I can tolerate to put on for the girls so they'll shut up, If there's something that you enjoy watching that'll shut your kids up, you wind up watching it a lot. That for me is Bleach or VeggieTales, but usually Bleach. So anyways, the wife should be home any minute now. Yoga pants. Put the yoga pants over there so maybe she can sit down on the chair when she gets here. So, just to review some headlines right quick. And thanks for joining me, everyone. Thanks for everybody who's still tuning in. Trump is not making jobs, not at any rate more than any unsuccessful president. Like basically he's got nothing to do with the job hire, which is odd because he's supposed to be hiring like about half the people that were in that fucking $98,000 number for March. Because he didn't hire him in February, so I just thought he was going to hire him in March. But 98,000 people. Population growth, 148,000 a month on average. So, a little over half of population growth. So, I guess Trump's real unemployment rate is about 40%. Oh, those are the kind of numbers he used, right? Well, population growth is 150,000. He creates 90,000 jobs. So his unemployment level is about 30%. Because, all the new people, only that many of them have jobs, right? That's Trump logic. Trump's unemployment. I'm going to change the hot headline for the video now. No, not really. I should change the headline for the video. Trump's job. Trump unemployment numbers sink to 30% unemployed. That's what he would fucking say. That's what he would say if it was Hillary in office right now. You know, the person who won the election. But, you know. Of course, you have the other day's video about how to spot a KGB agent. If you haven't seen the 7 easy ways to spot a KGB agent, you should go check that one out. And today, we're meeting in Astana for the Syria ceasefire. Oh, we're not invited. The Assad regime, the Iranians, the Syrian, the Turkish, and the Russians. And, maybe Kim Jong-un is going to be there too. You never know. And, of course, Nursultan is going to be there of Kazakhstan. And, it ain't Minsk. This is Astana. This is where real shit happens. So anyways. What's up, Sean? Yeah, Holy Roman Empire is definitely interesting. Assad pulled out of the meeting? Oh, there must have been some sort of uproar about it. It doesn't really matter. They're just talking about what's going on in his country. Like he has any fucking say. Kind of proves that he doesn't have any say, really. Like, okay, so if Assad's not involved in the ceasefire process, then he probably wasn't involved in the chemical weapons process. Just like those are North Korean pilots over North Korea. Those are probably Dagestani and Uzbekistani Russian pilots over Syria. Why wouldn't they be? Why would they just give them planes, train their people, and let them have a risk of becoming independent? After all, they're only brown people, right? Okay, so Trump's employment numbers suck. He hasn't created fucking jobs. Corruption, blah blah blah. Trump, Russia collusion, treason, and Korolendowski selling access to foreign people. Fucking Sally Yates fired because she warned of Michael Flynn, and Michael Flynn got fired because of her warnings turned out to be true. But then, on top of all that fuckery, we had a $68,000 ski trip for the Kuchner family, and that's the second one they took on our tab. Okay, and both of these trips had around $12,000 worth of equipment in it for 1 week at a ski resort. What the fuck do you rent for 12 grand at a ski resort? Not that I'm a big ski resort buff, but like skis, right? And skis, like $12,000 worth of fucking skis. I mean, what else do you rent up there? Some goggles, a fucking scarf. Did you rent a scarf? Did you rent a jacket? Did you rent pants? You'd think they'd have their own pants. Doesn't Ivanka have a fucking clothing line? Just fucking make some pants. $12,000 for equipment rental. Well, in addition to that, the new budget requests $120 million extra to provide security for the the Mongolian horde. The Putin family. The bag of tangerines that we have fucking sitting on top of us. Skin-tight gold suits, snowboards made of gold seas, etc. Oh, and I forgot, they had to pay a bunch of Mexicans to go turn all the snow gold. Which, you know, that was probably $500. So that doesn't really count for much, but, you know, the little things, they add up. So, and, you know, while he's sitting there costing us all this money, he's going to shut down the government, supposedly. Thinks it's okay. Thinks the government needs a good shutdown. So America can learn its lesson. I think Putin said the same exact fucking thing a couple of years ago when Ted Cruz's shutdown happened. I think he literally just quoted Putin when he said that. So today is today, and here is the graphic for today. Let's see, I just woke up. Insert a clever headline. Radiator rush today. Comey, as you are. And still no uproar about the World Trade Center comments? Was Chris Matthews mistaken? Did he not make those comments? Because if he made those fucking comments, there needs to be some uproar about this shit. We can't, like, not spend the whole week talking about this. I mean, Giuliani, over and over again. People can't fucking stop talking about that shit. How dare you? Trump says it. When he could have actually been fucking involved in 9/11. He could have actually benefited quite a lot from 9/11. His very good, close personal friend, Larry Bernstein, who owned Trade Center 7 and, you know, gave the order to pull it, just happens to be close friends with, you know, the dictator who wanted it to happen, who benefited from it in every way, seeing America just fucking tear itself apart since 9/11. But then he's also best friends with the guy who actually benefited off the insurance scam. Lacey. What's going on, girl? Lacey might be joining us on camera for a broadcast shortly. She's going to be coming down for a visit soon. But we're not going to tell you when. It will be a surprise. Wait. Okay, not yet. I was surprised. It didn't happen yet, so I did. Never mind. That was almost a joke, minus the what you call it, funny part. Yeah. So, anyways, Lapicropolis has been exercised. Okay, no lightning. That's good. That wasn't quite the gesture, but the gesture doesn't work anymore. The gesture only worked till about the 30th of July. Since then, it's been a whole lot harder to hit myself in the face with lightning, which I suppose is for the best. You know, it's kind of, you know, there's acne, and there's lightning strikes, and OxyClean cures one, but not the other. Not so much. Howdy. Punchline, yeah, punchline. That too. Catch up on the comments right quick. Oh, but you might. We can carry, you know, carry around the laptop and live stream in the woods so you're comfortable, you know, in your comfort zone as far as broadcasts go, walking around in the woods at night or whatever. So anyway, I want to talk to y'all just right quick, you know, considering that it's going to take me regaining a lot or losing everything in order for me to outright win this big war that's been going on. And the effects of this would be, dying, not so much an issue, not a big thing anymore. It would be the death of death. It would be Gabriel's much deserved retirement. Okay, just think for a second, little humans, not about yourselves for once. Okay, the archangel of death that, has to cause you to die has been at it for a long time. And he, like me, does not enjoy his job anymore. Okay? And we would like very much for you humans to wake the fuck up and stop wasting our time. Okay? You just never considered for a second that maybe death is, a programmed part of reality whose programming can be undone. Okay? And what you never considered about that is maybe the program that runs death deserves to retire. And maybe stop thinking about yourselves and how much you want to not die. And maybe think, well, maybe Gabriel deserves to once in a while. But death is just such a different thing to humans than it is to ancient spirits. Gabriel deserves to go on vacation. Okay? He's been working very hard for a very long time, a lot longer than this reality has even really been here. Okay? I guess humans are so concerned with doubting the idea that they could have not, you know, not live forever till your fucking skin implodes in your gray hair or whatever, like longevity of slow aging and lack of decay processes. Well, Pedro, it's not so much of what will be if the reality of reality if the program ends. It's what has to be of reality for the program to end. And, fear of death is non-productive in that respect. And the idea of correcting the world to avoid death is the wrong motivation. So maybe just, throwing that out there as if, you have a hard time conceptualizing how to think of eternal life as anything but a selfish thing. Just remember that if we actually grant people eternal life, if we return reality back to the Eden state, okay, Gabriel gets to retire. Be nice to Gabriel. Save the world from him. Anyway. Retirement for Gabriel +1. Yes, indeed. But about the whole death thing, since I've had many friends die recently, and now my mom has passed away, and I have spent the past week trying to hack into her old laptops. 3 of them. And all I can say is make sure someone that you trust has a list of all your shit, all your shit, all your passwords, all your accounts, all your PIN numbers. Every few months, every year, update the list, bring it back to them. However often you update your passwords, okay? Because if something happens to you, hospitalized, or God forbid worse, it is going to be a nightmare for people to try to, like my stepdad right now, can't pay his own bills. He has to get me to sign over a power of attorney to him to access the accounts for his house that my mom set up. And that's just the start of it. Between online accounts and just getting into computers to find her will. It took a lot. And it just like it dawned on me, wow, if something bad were to happen to me, what like think about just for a second. Don't dwell on it. It's not healthy to dwell on these kind of things. But the way we live, people in general, it's just so garbage oriented. People don't focus on acquiring things that can be handed down to their children anymore. You know? Like the whole home buying process has become just a clusterfuck of stupidity. And it's become a way for the elites to stay elite and for normal people to never get ahead. What's up, Carlos? So here's the deal. I want to buy land. I want to equip that land with long-term solutions for prosperity. Okay, hopefully its own well. A garden. Like a mechanic shop. Things that are going to be useful to future generations. Okay, namely my kids. People buy houses to sell the house. I mean, it's one thing to buy an old house and fix it up so you can live in it. And, God forbid if anything should happen, you'd have more value in it. And it's one thing to maybe do that a couple times till you can get the place that you want. But for people to make careers out of this, for people to make habits out of this, you're denying your children roots. Like, I didn't get to have roots growing up, and it's affected me my whole life. I didn't get to live any one place. I went to 21 different fucking schools, okay? In 3 countries. And my plan is to get land. And it's going to be family land. Okay? And I'm hoping that 100 years from now, my last name is still going to be on that land. And my descendants will be living there, using what I built for them. That is how civilized societies are built. not by flipping houses, not by buying cheap, renovating cheap, and then renting out so people can't share in prosperity. For every house that's taken off the market and put into rent, it makes it harder for every single person who's buying a house to do so. Not only does it take those houses off the market, making the supply side less competitive, but those rents are always more than the house new. So one by one, it attracts people into leeching away their lives. It makes the property value go up. Then all those other houses get more expensive, and then less and less people can afford to buy them. Got some enthusiastic responses here. It's just, and it's one of those things on that video I shot a while back called Civilization, You're Doing It Wrong. This is one of those things that civilization is just doing wrong. And the big money influence, the lordship feudalism fucking influence that wasn't washed away from our society effectively as it should have been. It's creating a subdivided subdivision. It's creating separation between classes of people. It's creating lords, not feudal lords, but lords nonetheless. You call them landlords. And they have such great power over your life that you never feel at peace when you're renting. We've lived here for 5 years. I still don't feel secure. 5 years, I still don't feel secure in this house because it's a rental. And I know that if something happened to us, my kids would be screwed. They wouldn't get to live here. This isn't my house. But if my dad, my grandpa, bought land, let his kids build a house or two on it, maybe help them buy more land. Not necessarily. Focus on developing what's yours. Don't take what other people can have if you have enough. My family actually used to have 50 acres in Texas. 50 acres. That got sold to pay off my uncle's fucking legal bills. But that's a story that I don't have much detail on, so I'm not going to go into it. 50 acres in the middle of nowhere. But you know what? It was our 50 acres. And the only way for the middle of nowhere to become somewhere is for families to take the initiative to build something. You ever notice how lots of towns, are named after families? That's because that family bought some land there and they built some shit. Then other people said, hey, this looks like a good place to build some shit. How much for this land? We'll build some shit too. And eventually it became, we built some shitville. Or, Johnsonville or Bratwurstville or something like that. Tiny houses are retarded. Okay, like the cheap ones that they make for homeless people, that's fine. But people paying $60,000 for 10 grand worth of wood, it's like a fad that's gotten out of control. Now, Lacey, for what we were talking about with the land plan, tiny houses would be great. In fact, those $19,000 trailers are kind of like tiny houses, but they're bigger and more luxurious. Separate bedroom and whatnot. But it doesn't look like hobbits live there, so they don't charge 60 grand for it. But we have currently, okay, anybody who I know who I've talked to extensively over the past couple of years, you are welcome to contact me privately and get in on this plan. Because the more investors we have, the bigger the land we can buy. We have 3 different options. We have a half an acre, we have 1.2 acres, and we have half an acre and excuse me. We have the 3/4 of an acre, the $25,000 lot. We have the one next to it, which is like a little over half an acre, like 0.7 acres maybe. And then there's the 3.2 acres or whatever. That's $75,000. The quarter acre is $25,000. So we're thinking that corner lot's probably $40,000. If the 3 acres 75, and that's 75,000 is on a less accessible street, but it's one street away from the main highway, so not too hard to find as far as retail goes. Right? The outdoorsy quality, like the one with nature-ishness of the tiny houses, that's cool. But that's what you see on all the promotional videos and stuff like that. And remember, not all promotional videos are meant to seem like promotional videos. But the $25,000 lot, the little quarter acre lot, and that one on the corner next to it, those are outside of city limits. So the taxes on those properties are going to be really low. In fact, one of those had taxes listed, and it was like $15 a year or some shit. Because there's no city limits. Nobody's actually taxing that but the state. The parish, the county, in any other state but Louisiana. No, I'm talking about on YouTube. All those little tiny house videos on YouTube, those are productions. But I mean, like, just be aware of high quality stuff. High quality stuff doesn't just pop up on YouTube. Okay. Things that are just a guy showing their tiny house, that's probably a manufacturer. There's probably links in the description. There's probably some way that they're going to herd you into selling you something. But otherwise, the whole tiny house thing does seem like somewhat of one of those kind of, I don't want to say psyops, but one of those things that gets promoted because of its psychologically damaging effects. And that's what the fuck are you talking about, Sean? How is tiny houses psychologically damaging? I know it's a bit of a stretch, but let me explain. I'm a former homeless person. Okay, I lived in a car, a fucking Integra, a hatchback, a little tiny car. For every homeless person that they show on TV getting a tiny house, there are millions that aren't getting tiny houses. And there are millions more people renting small apartments, little shitty hole-in-the-wall apartments. Both of these groups of people see the tiny houses, whether it's a homeless guy being given a little trailer house or whatever, the little container houses, or whether it's some yuppie who's took some of their parents' money and decided not to make anything of themselves and just go live in the fucking woods. people who work 50 hours a week and live in efficiency apartments get really pissed off when they see this kind of shit. Oh, that'd be nice if I could just live in a fucking tiny house. Believe it or not, that's what happens to a lot of people, especially in cities when they see that. Because people in cities feel trapped. They feel trapped at their jobs. They feel trapped where they live. And they see, oh, all you have to do is spend the money that you'd spend on a car and never need a car again. And people who work for a living, people who have had to fucking fight for what they have, see that. And there's only two ways it gets interpreted. That person has either had it too fucking easy and they're just retiring early and it's fucking obnoxious. Okay, because they're not actually going to build anything. They're just gonna suit themselves. Not gonna have any fucking children, nothing. Don't give a fuck about anybody but themselves. There's their little tiny house of selfishness. Where's the village? Where's the family? Where's the community? They said fuck all that. But then you have, like what he's saying, that the earthen cob houses, those are built in little communities and stuff like that. That's awesome. Those are built by the neighborhood, you know. Nothing wrong with that. That's Lord of the Rings fandom. That's all that is. But when you're talking about letting a homeless guy stay homeless in a box that's made out of not cardboard, there's a better way. There's got to be a better way. You're going to build those homeless guys tiny houses? Do like I said. Buy some land. Let them put their tiny houses on that land. Let them build something else for themselves there. Let them build a garage so that they can go buy a $200 car and try to fix it up. And maybe they can work from that tiny house to a real house. And then they can sell that tiny house or give that tiny house to the next homeless person. But to me, the first two things that need to be done by competent benefactors. Okay. And like I said, if I get sent a big enough chunk of money for a down payment, I'm going to march right over there and fucking apply for the credit to get that fucking $25,000 piece of land. Okay. And put a trailer on it. And I'm going to put a trailer on there for Lacey. And I'm going to put one extra trailer for whoever winds up needing it. Because the two things that I think any willing, competent benefactor should be doing with their money: buy land just outside of city limits for abused single mothers and battered women in general. But also buy land and build high-rise apartment complexes near high schools. Plenty of dorms near colleges. I wound up homeless in high school. When I was 17 years old, I was living on the streets. And I did not fail to graduate. I didn't get a GED. I graduated with honors. Okay. After having missed a whole year, I had to drop out, get an apartment, get my shit together, go back. I shouldn't have had to do that. I made really good fucking grades. And there should have been, and there should be now, somebody should do this. There should have been an apartment. Actually, there were apartments next to my school. Those apartments should have been bought by a Red Cross or a government type agency. And those things should have been rented out by GPA. There were at least half a dozen girls with kids over the course of my high school career that I've known. Most of them wind up dropping out. But if there was a community of single teenage mothers staying in a little apartment building complex right outside of the high school, they could look after each other, you know? And they wouldn't have to give up their resumes to take care of those babies. And then maybe you wouldn't need so many of the battered women's shelters, because you wouldn't have women thinking they need to depend on whatever man that would take them when they got knocked up in high school. You'd have women not even in that situation yet, feeling stronger, feeling, more secure, less like they'd have to depend on a man to begin with, and able to develop themselves for a while. But anyway, yeah, that's an idea I had when I was 16 years old. Anybody who's making straight A's shouldn't have to pay their own rent. I made straight A's and I had to pay my own rent. It sucked. That's pretty much where that's how I developed my incredibly unhealthy sleeping habits. Because I used to wake up at 3:45 in the morning. 3:45. Get to work at 4:45. Leave work at 6:45. Get to school at 7:25. Leave school junior year 2:35. Senior year 1:45. They let me out an hour early so I could go to work. Got home 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And, I've always been sort of a nervous, twitchy insomniac, always trying to keep up with world events and kind of stuff. So I had from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. to settle and sleep. Anyways, nobody should have to go through that. That's all I'm saying. Ooh, I think my wife's home. Let me put y'all on with some music right quick, and I'll be right back.
finally found someone else to devour me. Brand new start. My perfect angel, how could you be such a disgrace? And how could I have been so easy to replace? But now I'm coming to talk to you, you're not there. I look deep inside my fears and I found out where. Before you play your game with me, there's something you should know. I always knew your thoughts just didn't want to spoil your show. But it's okay now, I'll just sit and fucking stare. I can barely remember you, 'cause you were never there. I can only wonder how I let it last so long. I should have took the clue when you knew what you were doing was so wrong. Why do you still think you can hide your thoughts from me? You're the one who will suffer your lies. I'll just let you be. I tried to warn you so many times I cannot count. But without my love to guide you, you had better pray for a way out. You better pray for a way out. But it's okay now, I'll just fade away. And I can't help you anymore, there's nothing left to say. But it's okay now, I'll just let the demons have you. But if God wills, I'll still be here for you to run to. doesn't matter if it's wrong or if it's right. It don't matter if it's wrong or right to you. My perfect angel, how could you
we're back. And I think I have deleted the stuff that I don't want on this window.
Hey, Haley's coming.
So the wife is here. Say hello, Marface.
Hello, Marface. Hello, Lacey and Carlos and Maximo and Pedro and Joseph. Yes, I called you Joseph. But you can't hate on me because my friend Haley's coming over and she's married to a Joseph, and that's what we call him, is Joseph. So.
So Joe Jr. nonetheless.
Yes.
Yeah, about a third of the men in Louisiana are named Joseph. Like it's.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's like there's Joseph and there's Mike.
Yep. Well, I guess I could actually.
It's very, very reminiscent of the Catholic dominance of this area.
I had to swim, do the back breaststroke. What is that, backstroke?
Wait, isn't that the little swan dance from the Vegas scene on a Naked Gun? Okay, that was horrible. So, I was talking about how you should probably organize your information and your crap in general before you die. Or at least plan, you know, not that I see death as entirely, like there's still a possibility to defeat death at this point in reality. But, you know, just in case we fail, because, you know, shit's been going so well. I think people need to build their lives less towards pleasing themselves and more towards, you know, as enshrined in our Declaration of Independence, for our posterity. The whole reason they got freedom, they fought for freedom, was for their posterity. We are their posterity. Now, should we squander it, or should we do like they did before us so that we can give to our children? Instead of making them spend a week hacking through 3 laptops for passwords and shit. You know, like...
I figured
I was telling them about how, like, we want to buy land. Like, have, like, family land. Instead of just, you know, buying a house. And if there's a better house that comes along, we'll move into that house.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness does not exist anymore. We're not guaranteed a right to life because some asshat with a gun can come and take your life any moment he chooses to.
Mm-hmm.
Liberty, we're not free. I mean, we live in the freest country in the world, but we're not free. We're a slave to our government. Everybody is. And the pursuit of happiness, we're not in the pursuit of happiness. We're in the pursuit of money.
We're not slaves of the government. We're slaves to fucking corrupt corporations.
No.
The government, our government, which is supposed to be by and for us, has become slaves to the corrupt corporations. And by the corrupt corporations, for the corrupt corporations. And I'm a capitalist. There's nothing wrong with corporations. But most corporations, the age-old American institutions, were founded in tandem with our national security apparatus. And once that link was severed, when the Cold War ended, you know, we lost everything but Coke or Pepsi. You know,
red pill or blue pill.
We lost everything but the major choices, because those major choices got all the foreign and money investment. Those major choices got heavily funded, and then they preceded hostile corporate takeovers of smaller companies. And from then on, we've been fucked.
Speaking of corporations, I hear Apple's actually planning on starting to make their products here in the United States as opposed to having everything made overseas like they've been doing. Like the CEO of Apple came out and said he's going to create jobs making actual Apple products here in the States for a change.
Yeah, because their sales is fucking slumping.
Yeah, they didn't report as high of a freaking profit margin or profit earnings as they thought they were going to, especially considering the iPhone 7 just recently came out. I don't know.
Apple's just a ticking time bomb.
I can't say necessarily that I'm a capitalist. I agree with the idea of corporations, but something about a corporation, when you work for a corporation, you just become a number to those people. They don't really care about you.
Right.
That's why I always
Well, that's not how it used to be, though.
No, it's not how it used to be. That's how it is now.
We had a good maybe 30, 40 years of this country where we were actually this country.
Look at corporations like Walmart when they go to like doing major corporations like that, when they go to do major layoffs because
In some ways.
because they need to lay off people because their profits aren't
Right.
whatever, instead of going and eliminating your weak links and your people who fuck off on the clock and people who you're going to take the hardworking single parents, be it mothers or fathers, because there are both.
Oh yeah, they just do it by the number.
You're just going to do it by the number, so you're not taking into account that this might be the only way that this family has income coming in, and you just took it away.
Oh.
And it doesn't matter to them, and that's why people always say, "Oh, you could make so much money if you go to work for a corporation." I don't believe in it. I would rather work for a mom and pop place
until they're done chewing you up and spitting you out.
Yeah, I would rather work for a mom and pop place and feel like I'm not just a number, that I'm actually a person that makes a difference, rather than going to a corporation where nothing I say is going to be heard, and it doesn't matter how good of a worker I am, my job could be taken from me at any moment, and that bothers me as a mother and a wife. That freaking bothers me. Sorry, I just...
And that's why we vote Democrat. Okay? There's two types of capitalists in America. Democrats are not socialists, they're Democrats. They believe in regulation of big corporate entities, regulation of even work schedules. Democrats believe in workers' rights, not workers' ownership. Okay? But Democrats believe in profit sharing. Like, whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to profit sharing? You know, if you're going to work for a corporation, you've worked there 3-5 years, you should get stock in that company.
I mean, the Walmart
that should
company
become a
used to do
little
that.
bit your company too. Because, well, if you've worked there for that long, it already is.
It used to be Walmart was like that.
But now, because they don't have that, okay, what they wind up doing is literally laying off perfectly good people. They cause problems with perfectly good people, and they make them quit after a few years. So they don't have to give them raises. Especially people like me, overqualified and under-credentialed. If you're overqualified and under-credentialed, and you go apply to work for some corporate entity, they will say, one day you're going to make this much money. And then they're going to inch you up a little bit, until that time comes around. And then they're going to fucking be dicks to you, so you quit.
And then they can hire somebody at a lower rate.
And they can hire another cheap-ass person and use them for a while. But this is stemming from the culture of monetization being justification. Culture of success equals Christianity. The Joel Osteens and the
With their 10 houses,
all them
and private
fucking
jets.
preachers making the so-called conservative side of society basically turn them into a bunch of money worshippers. Because
they don't have to pay taxes.
The only thing, give us your money, friends, and God will bless you.
If you will send me a check for $200, it will reserve your seat in heaven.
So they're equating salvation to finance. They're equating spiritual clarity to finance. And it goes a step further. If you're poor, there's something wrong with you. Because, after all, if you were a good Christian, God would bless you. Bullshit. It's really sad. There are a lot of Christians in this country who identify as Democrats. And you'd never know it by watching the TV. You'd never know it by going to a church. Because frankly, we don't feel very welcome there. We don't feel very comfortable there. The dogmatic religiosity of it all. We recognize that it would not appeal to Christ. So it doesn't appeal to us. Someone who is a Democrat, whether or not they believe in God, whether or not they consider themselves a religious person, someone who is a Democrat is someone who actually paid attention to what Christ said and taught. Someone who's a Democrat, even if they say they're an atheist, chances are, in God's eyes, they're more of a Christian than most Republicans. God prefers people with good hearts any old day over people who are hypocrites but say all the right things. This is not Never Never Land. This is not a scenario in which a happy thought will allow you to fly. You don't just get to repeat a mantra in your head and get to heaven. Belief is not memorization. If you believe something, you act on it. You act like it. You carry it out. You live it. Believing something doesn't mean I'm going to repeat this in my head when I die and it'll keep me from going to hell for all the bad shit I did. Okay? That's not belief. That's brainwashing. So, anyways. What the fuck are we talking about?
I delivered a kitten today, and the kitten loves Molly's puppies.
Oh. Can I get that there on there? Forget that.
The kitten's the white spot in the middle with the gray, and there are two dachshunds on either side of her. I went and delivered a kitten from one friend of mine to another today.
Snuggling in the middle of two sausage dogs.
Yes.
Were they narcoleptic sausage dogs?
No.
If you haven't seen it, you must look up narcoleptic dachshunds meat. It's exactly as funny as it sounds. No. It's 10 times funnier than it sounds.
Yeah, you really got to look it up. That video is freaking hilarious.
It's from an old the Learning Channel documentary, okay, from like the 90s, okay, and they introduced two dachshunds. Both have narcolepsy, and they go like this. They make a little circle around each other. They sniff each other's butts, and they both fall over like a little yin yang. Just sniff each other's butts.
Yep.
It's the greatest thing ever. I'm easily amused. I'm sorry. He tries. All right.
All right, bye, you guys. Sorry, I got company coming over.
So I guess we're gonna have to
Orthodox?
in many ways,
any orthodoxy questions, I'll come back to those.
Okay, but your version of orthodoxy is not the awakened version of orthodoxy.
Come on in.
She thinks orthodoxy, and she thinks her family and her culture and everything, and that's beautiful. Nothing wrong with that. But there's a bigger picture, and there's basically the Ukrainian Cyanic Church, the Ukrainian ancient church. Then there's Orthodoxy. It's called Eastern Orthodoxy, but it's not quite an orthodoxy. Meanwhile, the split has resurrected the orthodoctic cult, and now you have two different versions of Russian Orthodoxy or Eastern Orthodoxy. One is Ukrainian Orthodoxy and one is Russian Orthodoxy. Ukrainian Orthodoxy is self-reforming to some extent. And at some point, when the grip of corruption is loosed, the culture becomes a statue that reminds you of the past. But as far as what we refer to as orthodoxy, the common thread of orthodoxy, whether it be Greek Orthodoxy or Russian Orthodoxy or Armenian Orthodoxy or Jewish Orthodoxy, you're talking about basically religions that work in tandem with conservative ideology. And just to point out the obvious elephant in the room, Catholicism, is it an orthodoxy? Yeah, kind of is. It has been. I mean, Jean Paul, wait, not Jean Paul, Francis, yeah, the new Pope, Jean Paul, yeah, y'all heard of him? Francis, very works-oriented, very adherent to the values, to having a big heart, that kind of thing. But there's still the old guard in the Council of the Catholic Church. Those are very Republican-minded people. Very conservative, very orthodox. So while the word orthodoxy means a different technical thing to each sect, you can trace it historically that it all kind of means the same thing. Anyways. So I guess I will go and join the company in the other room and call it a broadcast. Broadcast. That's gonna get old one day, probably soon, but it hasn't really yet, has it? Look at the camera. Call it a broadcast. Just don't call me names. Names. If this has happened before, will it ever end? Question of my life. And bear in mind, I deal with this to quite an extent as just another human with a little bit more of a memory. Okay? So what I remember isn't comforting. It's kind of terrifying. When I heard the plan for this era, I was already human. And I was speaking to a goddess who was about to curse herself to become a low-level human who was about to take the lowest, weakest form that she ever had. And that scared the shit out of me, too. I didn't know if I could live up to that challenge. Joey, watch what the fuck you say, man. Seriously. Not cool. Not cool. Jesus Christ. Okay. Sounds a little kooky there. That's all I'm saying. It's funny, but sounds a little kooky there. But I knew in my heart, as this fear took hold, that I was supposed to have faith that it would work out. And I did. I did have faith. I knew what faith was when I was that little, and I had it. But that situation in isolation isn't what that situation in isolation isn't what really disturbs me now. It's looking back on how much church I went to, how many Sunday school classes I went to, how much Bible study I went to, and wondering, what is it that I know and what is it that I learned? Okay. I know that I was supposed to have faith, that we were here to fix things. I knew that it was going to be a challenge. I knew that it was going to work itself out in the end. I didn't know that this would be the last time. I don't think. I'm not sure if I knew that. And it's impossible for me to remember whether or not I knew that because of what I learned later. What I learned is that when I came back, every knee shall bow, every tongue will confess, and everything is going to be fucking perfect. But do I separate all the things about that don't make sense and still keep with the time of it? Do I let those two things agree? What I've been taught, that it would happen this time, and what I knew, that it would be okay. Not necessarily that it would all wind up and resolve itself this time, but that would be okay. Can they agree with each other? And that's what I struggle with now. And, I had a plan. And another thing that really scares me is I don't feel, okay, for all I know, this could be exactly how it's supposed to be happening, okay? And there's a lot of reason. There's a lot of logic that backs that up. But I'm still afraid that my outreach wasn't good enough, that I didn't gather enough people to spread enough truth in time. For this to turn into a new kingdom. A kingdom of conscience. All right. So anyways, I guess on that rather deep and reflective bombshell, it is time to end. I will see y'all this evening around 11:30ish, probably 11 p.m.-ish. And those of you who haven't joined us before, 7 days a week, usually noonish and midnightish. Call it the 11Z's broadcast because I broadcast it around 11ish Central Time. But if you're not catching this live, come see us when it's happening. Comment. Give me your questions if you got any. Always open to answering any questions that anybody asks. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. And y'all have a great day. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at The Lost Begotten Channel. Or The Lost Begotten. YouTube, The Lost Begotten Channel. Where you already are, so I don't need to fucking say that. Click the like button. And make sure you're subscribed. Check your subscription if you are a subscriber because it gets dropped quite often. Y'all take it easy, but don't take it off.
The way it treated me too many times before. Don't you know you love them, baby, too? Oh, you know I want you there, wanna be right there with you. I know I gotta keep you by my side the day I die. 'Cause baby, ecstasy is in my hand. Oh, when I'm holding yours in mine and walking in the sand. Oh, baby, you know it's fine. Oh, now you done and piss me off. You ain't done something you shouldn't have done. Baby, I'm mad. I'm going